Hello, welcome to day 5 of the 14-day piano challenge. Today we're taking things up a notch. We are learning our first full octave scale, and we're starting 2 new songs. We're starting Aurélie and Happy Birthday. That's an important one for everyone to be able to play on the piano. As always, be sure to grab your workbook through the link below, and let's get started. Now that we've gotten used to finding our way around the piano and we're starting to recognize the notes better, we're ready to start learning scales. So our C major scale is the one we're doing today. I'm going to start with the right hand on middle C, and we go up to the next C, and then back down, and then the left hand will start 1 C below that, go up to middle C and back down. If you want to start in a different position, if you want to start higher or lower, that's absolutely fine. The same rules will apply. The main thing is just having the right notes and the right fingerings. The notes are pretty straightforward. We're just playing every single white key from C to C, up and back down. And then the fingering is nothing too dramatic either. So I'll walk you through that nice and slowly. Start with 1 on C, 2 on D, 3 on E. The thumb slides under to grab our F. 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we just go back down the same way we came up. We have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We reach over with our third finger this time. 3, 2, 1. When you're first starting out with scales, go really, really slowly. You're not in a rush. You want to make sure that you have all the fingerings lined up, that you're getting really comfortable with the fingering, because we will start playing these hands together in a couple of days also, and the fingering is really going to be the most important element. So let's try that again one more time, the right hand alone. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the left hand, the fingering is the same, it's just backwards. So instead of 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. And then going down, we have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you want, go ahead and press pause and practice that another time or two before we move on to the next section. Today is the last day we're going to be quizzing the keys on the piano. So as always, if you have any trouble with this, just repeat it a few times. You can always go back to the other videos. You can always practice this on your own. You can always keep using these videos to help you. But during each daily lesson, we won't be covering this anymore. So if you have any trouble, maybe go through this a couple more times, and then maybe find some flashcards that can also help you out. Just be sure to keep quizzing yourself every day or two if it's something that you need a little extra work on. And today we're also going to do it a little bit differently. Instead of me saying the note and then showing you, I'm going to play the note and then name it. C, F, B, E, A, D, G. And that's all of them. How did that go? Let me know in the comments below. Today we have some brand new things happening in this rhythm section. So hopefully you're never skipping over this part anyway, but if you tend to, maybe do stick around, because these things are going to be really important and you're going to need them for every single one of the things that we're learning after this. So please stay here with me, and I promise it's worth your time. I promise it's worth your time every day, but especially today, it's very important. For starters, we're learning a new type of note. So until now, we've had quarter notes, half notes, dotted half notes, and whole notes. And now we're dividing our one beat in half. So our quarter notes we're dividing into eighth notes. And that's for, on this slide, our first measure is quarter notes. We've seen those before. And the measure after that is eighth notes. A word of caution with eighth notes. And at some point, you'll also move on to 16th notes and 32nd notes. And when notes start to get faster, sometimes our brain, at least my brain, especially when I was younger, before I learned there's a really clear structure to this, it would just kind of, I would have static in my head and I was no longer capable of counting. I was just thinking, fast, it's fast, I have to go fast. And that is something that we don't want. It's just twice as fast. Eighth notes are just twice as fast as quarter notes. And so counting them is actually really straightforward. We're going to keep counting with our metric counting, that we're counting the whole measure. So we're counting 1, 2, 3, and then the eighth notes just fill in that. So we're going to do this slide twice today. We usually only do them once, but this one, just getting this feeling of doubling the speed is really, really important, and I want you to take it really seriously. It's not hard, just remember, it's twice as fast. There's nothing more to it. And if you want, watch me count it once and then join me on the second time, and then press pause and do it a couple of times on your own. So from the top, I'll count us in. 1, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and. It's not so bad, right? Let's do that one more time together. Maybe a little bit faster this time, just so that you can get used to, no matter what the tempo is, it's only ever twice as fast. So let's go faster. 1, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and. Great. Then on our next slide, we have another thing that's new. It's not so much a rhythm drill as a music information thing. We're in 3/4 time, just like on the previous slide, but here, our first measure only has one set of eighth notes, which means that we only have one beat in the first measure. But if you look at the last measure on the slide, there we only have 2 beats. So that 2 plus the 1 at the beginning is our 3 beats together. The first measure is called a pickup, and we've had that, for example, in Amazing Grace, that it starts with 1 beat before we have a full measure. And this happens a lot, actually. And it helps also if you don't think of the music starting on the pickup, but that you count a couple of measures before you start. And just like I've been doing whenever we've played Amazing Grace together, it's the same sort of thing. You count one whole measure, and then you start counting this incomplete measure, and then you start on whichever beat you need in that incomplete measure. It's usually 1 beat, it's sometimes 1.5, it's sometimes 2. But what's important to know is that this incomplete measure at the beginning is always compensated for at the end. Every now and then you'll see that a publishing house got a little lazy and they didn't double check everything, and then the final measure is the full length, even though it should be missing a beat. It's not that important, but it should look like we have on this slide. So let's give this a try. I'll count us in like I told you before. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1 and 2 and 3. 1, 2. And since we have lots of eighth notes here, let's repeat that one more time, because now it's not just an entire measure of eighth notes like we had before. Now it's just 1 or 2 beats within each measure. So let's do that one more time. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1 and 2 and 3. 1, 2. Excellent. Then our final new detail here, we have dealt with dotted half notes, and we basically said, okay, dotted half notes, the dot adds a beat. But what's actually happening with the dot is adding half the value of whatever note it's next to. So here it's next to a quarter note. Half of a quarter note is an eighth note, or half a beat. So that means that these quarter notes in the first 2 measures with the dots, they're no longer 1 beat, they're 1.5 beats. And then the second note, that's an eighth note on its own. On the first 2 slides, we saw them in pairs, We tend to see them in pairs. It's more common to see them that way, especially in early phases of learning. But this is how they look when they're on their own. Instead of having this bar connecting the two of them, it has a little flag on the side. It has exactly the same function. It gets half a beat. It's just one of them instead of two. So here, let's do this slide twice also, actually. And if you want, watch me clap it once and then join me on the second time. And the other thing that you maybe want to know before we dive right in is that we count them exactly like we do when it's an entire measure of eighth notes, for example. We still count 1 and 2 and 3, 4 is how we're going to do that. From the top, 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. One more time. Ready, go. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Excellent. Thank you for sticking that out with me today. Our new melody for today is the song Arali. It's actually the same melody that Elvis used for the song Love Me Tender. So maybe if you aren't familiar with Arali, you know it from that song. Either way, it's a beautiful melody and we're going to dive right in. And we have one extra step today. We're going to start learning songs that we're playing hands together. Today, we're just learning the hands separately and we're going to put them together in a day or two. But we want to make sure that we practice each hand separately and really get those down before we start playing hands together for the first time. Of course, if you feel really confident about it and you want to give it a try on your own, go for it, knock yourself out, have fun with that. But during the lesson today, I'm just going to be showing you the hands separately. Our right hand is starting on G. We want our thumb there. And we start right away with a fourth, one of the intervals that we've been learning. And the rhythm is pretty straightforward, especially in the beginning. So as always, we're going to go through chunk by chunk. So I'll start by playing the first line for you. So rhythm straightforward, we have a couple of jumps of a fourth, and besides that, we're just stepping around. So let's look through that one more time. Like I said before, we're starting with our thumb on G, and we're going to the third finger on C because it's just a little bit more comfortable to play this pattern with these fingers instead of having the fifth finger laying on D. We would manage all of the notes. It's just not the most comfortable fingering. If we're using 3, 4, and 5 a lot, it's just not a very stable fingering. It's not a very comfortable fingering. And so that's why we're stretching a little bit, even though we have technically other options for our fingering. So we start with our fourth. And then in here we have 2 more jumps of a fourth. A and back to E. And then just steps. 4, make sure that you're counting. The second row is exactly the same thing, so there's nothing new to learn there. Let's go ahead and play through it once. 2, 3, 4. In the third row, we're going to have the chance to right away be using this dotted rhythm that we learned in our rhythm drill today. So it's just E for the whole 2 measures that we have this pattern. And we're going to be playing with our third finger there. So we have 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. And then just straightforward quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's fairly straightforward because it's a simple fingering, it's a simple pattern, it's just steps, straightforward quarter notes, and the complicated rhythm is just all on one note, so that's nice. Then for the fourth row, we have to switch between the hands a little bit. So for a lot of the song, we're going to be playing hands together in the long term. For now, for this part, we will learn both hands all at once, otherwise our melody gets interrupted. And I'll show you how that works. So we're starting again with our third finger on E. We have E, E, F, E, D. Then the left hand is going to play our A, D, 2. And then the left hand is going to finish the rest of the song. C, B, A, B, C, 2, 3, 4. Let's walk through that one more time. I'm just going to play nice and slow. You can play along with me if you want. I'll count us in and we'll see how it goes. So, sorry, one more detail is that the thumbs are kind of sharing our middle C here. And I believe we've had that one of the other days that I told you before, that the thumbs are just going to kind of take turns playing the key. And then when we're using one, the other thumb just kind of hangs off to the side. Nice and relaxed. 1, 2, ready, go. E, 4. Excellent. Now we need to take a quick look at the left hand here. The left hand, when it's playing alongside the right hand at the same time, we're taking this nice and gently in the beginning. The left hand is just going to be playing whole notes. So do go nice and slow. If you want to sit and count the whole note for every single measure when you're playing through these opening sections with the left hand alone, that's a great idea because then you're getting used to the timing. I think probably 80% of you won't do that anyway. That's okay. Just know that then when you put the hands together, you're going to have to be really concentrating on how long the left hand is supposed to be on every single note. For now, I will count us in and I will be counting the whole note. So if you want to play along with me, basically what you can do is you can find the first note, listen to my counting, and while I'm counting, you're looking for the next note and where you need to be jumping to. We're starting with 5 on C. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the second row, just like the right hand, it's exactly the same thing. So let's just keep going. Ready, go. C, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The third row here, you'll probably notice starts on the same note, but now we're not jumping up the fourth to F that we've had until now. Now we're just skipping up to E, then we step up to F, and then jump back down the fourth to C. Just looking ahead really briefly to the fourth row, then you'll see that we don't have any of these whole notes anymore because we're going to need the left hand to move up. We talked about that when we were learning the right hand alone. So that part you actually know already, but we do need to be practicing this shift. So let's play the third row, and then we're going to practice the shift up so that it doesn't cost us as much time and effort when we're trying the hands together later on. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then jump right up with your third finger to A. Let's do that one more time just to practice that transition. Ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Move. If you want a visual cue to help you find that transition better, if A is maybe a little bit slower to find, and if searching for a note with your third finger takes you maybe a little bit longer, then the thumb is going to be on middle C. That can be your other visual guide there. That's all you need to work on in RLE for today. If you want, you can go ahead and try the hands together. I'll play that for you once now, just briefly, so that you can see how that goes. And then if you want to try to play along, or if you want to watch that and then test it out on your own, watch that section, hit pause, give it a try, and let me know how it went in the comments below. Today for our reading section, we're just going to do a quick quiz of the notes and intervals that we've learned up until this point. So we're still practicing identifying, still practicing on maybe playing these as we name them, and let's just jump right in. So we're starting with our bass clef F. We go down a third to D. Treble clef G, up a third to B. B right below middle C, down a fourth to F. That one does sound funky, it is correct. If you really want to know why it sounds weird, let me know in the comments below and I'll get back to you with the answer. Bass clef F up to G, middle C down to B, G down a third to E, G down a second to F, C down a fourth to G, D up a third to F, middle C up a second to D, G up a second to A, F down a fourth to C, E up a second to F, F up a third to A, C up a third to E, B down a fourth to F, that's our funny fourth again, F down a second to E, C down a third to A, D down a fourth to A, F down a fourth to C, G down a fourth to D, last one, G up a fourth to C. So we've looked through this one already. This is an excerpt from RLE, and I just wanted to again touch on these fourths that we have going on here. So if you scan through, we've already learned this song. You see that the first two rows are exactly the same, and we just have some fourths going on. So we start with a fourth, and then in the second measure, it's only fourths. And then of course, since the second row is a repetition, the fourths are in the same spot. Happy Birthday also has a fourth. We're going to start that in just a minute. And we're not starting with the fourth, but it is mixed into the middle of that first full measure. So it starts with a pickup, like we learned about in the rhythm section. And then in the first full measure, we have 1/4. Last but not least, we're starting Happy Birthday today. So there are a few things before we dive right in that I want you to keep in mind. We have a lot of eighth notes in Happy Birthday. I have notated them in your music as normal eighth notes because that's what we've just learned, that's what we're used to seeing. However, we don't usually sing Happy Birthday to you with these even eighth notes. We usually sing Happy Birthday, which is a dotted pattern, just like the dotted quarter notes that we started using today. Feel free to play that by ear. Feel free to use the rhythm that you've worked on there all the time. That's what I'm going to be using as I guide you through this. just so that you know and understand where that discrepancy is coming from. That's why it is the way it is. For today, we're going to be working on this for several days. With our bigger piece that we learn each time, we spend several days on it. The smaller ones we usually just work on for a couple of days. Today, we're learning just the melody and we're just splitting it between the hands. Tomorrow, we're going to be learning a slightly different version where the melody notes are going to be the same, but we're going to play all of them in the right hand instead of splitting them between the hands like we are today. I've done that also by design. The notes that we're using for the version today are ones that you're more used to reading. These are patterns that we've learned already. These are notes that we know really, really well. Because I don't want that to be a stumbling block for learning Happy Birthday. Then tomorrow, when we come back to this, we're going to be learning it in a 1 octave higher. The notes that it starts on are pretty well known to us, but then we do need to jump a bit higher, and the fingering will also be a little bit different. We're going to have some more movement happening in the right hand. It's absolutely something that you can manage. Don't let it freak you out. I just want you to know that there's something new coming for you. So today is kind of the version 1 to get accustomed to everything, to start to understand how it's going to be looking when we're playing this. And then tomorrow, like we did today, we're kicking things up a notch. Similarly to RLE, our thumbs are going to be kind of sharing middle C. They'll never need middle C extremely close to one another, so the left hand will need it first, then the right hand will take over it, and you're going to be fine. So we're starting with the 4th finger on G, and we're just going to go kind of chunk for chunk through this song. So we have Happy Birthday to You is the first part we're doing, and that's all in the left hand. We have G, G, A, G, C, B, 2. Let's do that one more time. If you want to do it more than that, pause and do it several times on your own. Ready, go. 2. Here again, we're seeing these 4ths. They're never going to go away. We're mostly dealing with steps in this section, but there is this one big 4th between Happy Birthday, between day and you, right? Happy birthday to you. Day 2 is where our 4th comes in. Then we start the same. We have G, 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 A, G, and we jump further. So now the left hand is playing just G, G, A, G, and the right hand jumps in with D, C. So it's the same rhythmic pattern, it's the same contour in the melody, and this is a really common thing that a composer would do, is we have, okay, idea 1, and then idea 1, but we're gonna stretch it out a little bit to keep things interesting. So let's try first the 2nd chunk, G, G, A, G, D, C. Ready, go. G, G, A, G, D, C, 2. Hit pause if you want to practice that once or twice more just on its own, this tiny chunk. But for now, let's move on and try those 2 chunks together. Ready, go. G, G, A, G, 2. 2. Now, it's again a very similar pattern, but instead of having the stepping back and forth, we have G, 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 and we jump up a whole octave. We're going to do that octave jump between the hands for today. Tomorrow, the right hand's going to be doing all of that, and that's when we're going to be getting into these notes that we haven't read as much before. And then right after this octave jump, we're skipping down and then have some steps. So we have G, 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 E, C, B, A, and then the symbol above this A is a fermata. That means to hold the note for longer. It comes from Italian. In Italy, at the bus stops are actually called fermata. So you can just remember that, okay, there's my bus stop, I need to hold on to this note. You probably are very familiar with Happy Birthday, so you can maybe in context understand what's going on there anyway, but I think it's a fun fact. Let's do that 3rd chunk one more time. Ready, go. G, 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 E, C, B, A. Hold it for a long time. And then pause if you want to keep practicing that. If not, let's move on to the fourth chunk. The fourth chunk is only in the right hand. We're starting with the fourth finger on F, and we have F, F, E, C, D, C, 2. If you want to practice that chunk a few times on your own, again, press pause. And if not, if you feel pretty comfortable, then let's play all the way through from the beginning and we can just try that out together. So I'll go nice and slow, I'll count us in. And since we have this pickup at the beginning, I'm going to be counting us in one whole measure and then the first 2 beats, and then we're starting right on 3 of the second measure. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Hold it nice and long. Congratulations, you've made it through day 5. As always, let me know in the comments below how it went. Give this video a like if you've learned something, and share it with a friend if you think that you know someone who would be interested in learning piano with you. Until tomorrow, happy practicing.